There is something uniquely disturbing about a family annihilation case when the person believed responsible is never caught. Because there's no courtroom, no confession, no prison sentence, no final photograph behind bars. Just a question: where did he go? Welcome to episode 5 of our family tragedy series, and tonight, we're going to France. Because in April 2011, police entered a family home in Nantes and eventually discovered 5 bodies beneath the terrace. A mother and her 4 children. 2 family dogs were buried there too. But the father, Xavier Dupont de Ligonnès, wasn't among them. That was 15 years ago. And as of 2026, nobody can say with certainty whether Xavier Dupont de Ligonnès is dead or living somewhere under another name. Welcome to the podcast You Can't Unhear. The family lived at 55 Boulevard Robert Schumann in Nantes. There was Agnès Dupont de Ligonnès, 48 years old, who worked at a Catholic school, and 4 children: Arthur, Agnes's eldest son from a previous relationship, Thomas, Anne, and the youngest, Benoît. Then there was Xavier, 50 years old. He came from an old French aristocratic family, but the title and family history hid something much less glamorous. Money problems. Serious ones. Xavier ran small businesses, including an advertising sales operation, but his income was modest and his debts were mounting. By April 2011, a creditor was chasing him for more than 20,000 euros. On April 5th, a bailiff reportedly arrived at the Nantes house. Nobody answered. But by then, something may already have happened inside. Investigators eventually reconstructed purchases Xavier made immediately before the family disappeared. April 1st, a spade and a hoe. April 2nd, 4 bags of lime, 10 kilograms each. And there was the gun. Xavier's father had died earlier that year, and Xavier obtained one of his .22 caliber rifles. He joined a shooting club, practiced, and investigators would later establish that the family members had been killed using a .22 long rifle weapon. So, by the beginning of April, the tools and the weapon existed, and according to investigators, the family was approaching its final weekend together. On Sunday, April 3rd, Xavier, Agnès, Arthur, Anne and Benoît went out together. They ate at a restaurant, then went to the cinema. Everyone appeared alive that evening. Thomas wasn't there. He was studying in Angers. Investigators now believe Agnès and the 3 children who were home were most likely killed during the night of April 3rd into April 4th. Post-mortem examinations found sleeping medication in the victims, and the killings appeared methodical. They were shot with the small caliber rifle, and Thomas came last. On April 5th, Xavier contacted his 18-year-old son. Thomas was away at university. According to the reconstructed timeline, Xavier told him his mother had been involved in an accident and asked him to return to Nantes. Thomas came home. Father and son reportedly ate together that night, and investigators believe Thomas was then killed separately, after the rest of his family was already dead. If the prosecution theory is correct, think about how calculated that would have to be. After killing 4 members of his household, Xavier would have had to contact the remaining child, give him a believable reason to come home, sit across from him over dinner, then finish what he'd started. Over the following days, people around the family noticed things. The shutters stayed closed. The family's dogs, usually audible, went silent. On April 4th, before anyone knew what was happening, Xavier apparently spoke to his sister on the phone and sounded normal. Neighbours later reported seeing him loading bags. There were still emails coming from his account. Life hadn't simply stopped. It was being staged. And then letters began arriving. The children's schools and Agnes's employer were told the family was leaving. The explanation? An urgent professional transfer to Australia. But relatives received an entirely different story. 9 family members were sent a long letter, supposedly from Xavier. According to it, Xavier had secretly been working for the DEA, the American Drug Enforcement Administration. The family had become involved in a sensitive narcotics case. They were now being relocated to the United States under witness protection with new identities. Nobody would be able to contact them for years. It's elaborate, almost cinematic. And if the purpose was to buy time, it worked. Because instead of immediately imagining murder, people were left wondering whether the family had suddenly left France. Meanwhile, Xavier was doing exactly that, leaving Nantes. Investigators traced Xavier south. According to the current police timeline, he left the Nantes region on April 12th. He stayed at hotels, sometimes under another name, but he continued leaving traces. Credit card use, ATM footage, hotel cameras. On April 14th, a camera captured him withdrawing money in Roquebrune-sur-Argens in southeastern France. That evening, he checked into a Formula One budget hotel. The next afternoon, April 15th, a camera recorded Xavier leaving. His Citroën was left in the hotel parking lot. A witness saw him walking away, carrying a backpack. At approximately 4 in the afternoon, Xavier Dupont de Ligonnès disappeared. That remains the last confirmed sighting of him anywhere in the world. The strange state of the family home was becoming impossible to ignore. On April 13th, a neighbour contacted police. The shutters had been closed for days. Police visited. The house appeared partially emptied and strangely clean. But there was no obvious blood. No dramatic crime scene. No bodies visible. They left. On April 19th, prosecutors formally opened an investigation into a worrying disappearance. Then, on April 21st, police searched again. This time, they looked beneath the terrace. And the entire case changed. 5 bodies were recovered. Agnès, Arthur, Thomas, Anne, and Benoît. The family's 2 Labradors were buried there as well. They were found dressed in pajamas, wrapped in blankets, and surrounded by crosses and crucifixes. Each of them had been shot twice. The bags containing their remains were covered in lime to mask the smell of decomposition. The missing family case was now a quintuple homicide investigation, and the person investigators most wanted to speak to had already been gone for 6 days. So why? The easiest answer is financial collapse. Xavier had debts. His business was struggling. Creditors were chasing him. And this is where the case connects with something we've seen repeatedly during our family tragedy series. A person becomes terrified of losing status, control, the appearance of a successful family, and instead of allowing the family to survive the embarrassment, they destroy the family itself. But money probably wasn't the whole story. Investigators found indications that Xavier had previously discussed darker ideas. Agnès had reportedly written online in 2010 about comments suggesting that perhaps everyone being dead would somehow solve their problems. Exactly what Xavier believed, and how long he had contemplated killing the family, can never be established without him. But the purchases, the letters, the separate story created for Thomas, and the carefully arranged escape all led investigators toward the same conclusion. This didn't look spontaneous. It looked planned. On April 26th, the search expanded internationally. Interpol circulated information worldwide. Eventually, an international arrest warrant followed. Police searched the countryside around Roquebrune-sur-Argens. Caves, woodlands, remote terrain. One theory emerged immediately. Xavier had killed his family, travelled south, then disappeared into the landscape and killed himself. And even today, French investigators have considered suicide one of the strongest explanations. But there was a problem. No body, no rifle, no belongings, nothing conclusively showing where Xavier's journey ended. And without a body, another possibility remained. He escaped. 4 years passed. Then, human remains were discovered near Fréjus, only around 10 kilometers from Xavier's final confirmed location. Could that finally be him? DNA testing said no. Then, only months later, the AFP office in Nantes received something bizarre. A photograph with a handwritten message. "I am still alive." It was signed with Xavier's name. Experts examined it, but there was no proof he had actually sent it. And that became the pattern. Hope, headline, investigation, dead end. Because Xavier was deeply familiar with Catholicism, another theory took hold. Maybe he'd entered a monastery. Maybe he'd become anonymous inside a religious community, living quietly under another identity. Police followed those tips too. A monastery was searched after witnesses thought they'd recognized him. Wrong man. Another abbey was checked. Nothing. In March 2024, 3 people believed they had encountered a mysterious man calling himself Jean within a religious community in eastern France. Investigators collected items he'd used, including containers, and tested the DNA. It wasn't Xavier. Again, the ghost vanished. Then came the moment France thought, the several hours, the mystery was finally over. October 2019, police arrested a man arriving at Glasgow airport. Early reports suggested fingerprint evidence matched Xavier. French media exploded. After 8 years, had they caught him? No. The man was a French retiree visiting his Scottish wife. Further testing established that he wasn't Xavier Dupont de Ligonnès. He had simply become an innocent man trapped inside one of France's most feverish manhunts. More than 900 alleged sightings had been reported by that point, none confirmed. Then, in 2024, the case became stranger. Xavier's sister Christine published a book arguing that her brother might actually be innocent. Her theory essentially accepts the extraordinary story Xavier himself had written in 2011. The family wasn't murdered. They were secretly extracted to America. The bodies beneath the terrace, she argued, weren't really them. But the Nantes prosecutor responded forcefully. Authorities said there was no judicial basis for that theory and rejected claims that the identification results had been manipulated. The victims had been identified. For investigators, Agnès and the children are dead. Then, in 2025, French influencer Akababe launched his own crowdsourced hunt for Xavier. Hundreds of thousands joined an online channel. Tips came from Malta, Gozo, Japan. Photos circulated. People thought they'd found him. But the prosecutor in Nantes said something very different. Authorities had received no factual, verifiable evidence supporting those claims. In fact, officials complained that waves of viral tips were consuming investigators' time. 15 years after the murders. The internet was basically recreating the same problem detectives had faced since 2011. Xavier could be everywhere, which meant he was nowhere. The case is still alive. Earlier this year, a former investigator involved with the case published a book arguing Xavier may have successfully escaped to the United States. That theory even reached Brewster County, Texas, where Sheriff Ronnie Dodson issued a public appeal for information in March. Tips arrived. One woman described meeting a tall French-accented man in 2020 with sunglasses and a black Labrador. Interesting. Sure. Proof? No. The Nantes prosecutor said French investigators hadn't even been informed in advance about the Texas initiative and emphasized that no tangible trace of Xavier abroad has ever been confirmed. So, is Xavier alive? There are really two broad possibilities. The first. Xavier died shortly after April 15th, 2011, perhaps somewhere around Roquebrune-sur-Argens, in terrain where his remains have simply never been found. The second possibility is much more unsettling. He planned his disappearance as carefully as investigators believe he planned everything else. False identity, cash, international travel, maybe assistance. Then a life somewhere where nobody knows who he really is. Investigators cannot completely rule that out. But despite thousands of rumors, there is still no confirmed evidence that Xavier survived beyond April 15th, 2011. And that's what makes this story particularly haunting for this series. In other episodes, there is usually an end point. Here, Agnès and her children were buried beneath their own home. Their names became permanently connected to a mystery, while the person suspected of killing them became almost a myth. But if Xavier Dupont de Ligonnès is alive today, he would now be 65 years old. And that means episode 5 of our family tragedy series doesn't really have an ending. Because somewhere is the only person who could explain exactly what happened inside that Nantes house. And 15 years later, Xavier Dupont de Ligonnès still hasn't been found. Thanks for joining me tonight. We still have a couple of episodes of family tragedies, so if you enjoy this episode, please subscribe to this channel. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next episode of the podcast You Can't Unhear.